Welcome to LCAP Legacy, Decades of Dedication, the podcast that celebrates the incredible individuals who have shaped the heart and soul of the Lawrence County Community Action Partnership.
Each episode, we'll dive deep into the stories of those who have devoted their careers to making a difference, not just in our organization, but in the lives of the people we serve every day.
We'll uncover their journeys, explore the moments that inspire them, and highlight the lasting impact of their commitment to LCAP's mission.
So whether you're here to learn, be inspired, or simply celebrate the amazing people who make LCAP what it is, thank you for joining us.
This is LCAP Legacy, Decades of Dedication.
Let's get started with today's guest.
Welcome back to another episode of LCAP Legacy, Decades of Dedication. And of course, in the studio today, I have my co-hosts with me, Kim and Amber.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
And we are back with episode number 13. And as promised, we have another special guest here in the studio with us today. Today we have Kathy Presnar, LCAP's Director of Community Support, and she has been with the company for the past 25 years. So Kathy, thank you so much for joining us in the studio today.
Thank you for having me.
So take us to the beginning. 25 years is an incredible journey to be on, but how did it start?
Well, through college, I actually was a summer laborer. This is always my fun fact when people ask at meetings. I ran a jackhammer for 5 summers through college to pay for my schooling. And the summer after I graduated, I went back to that job because I didn't have anything lined up, and I kept working there until about November or December. And then I started to think I really needed to use my education and find a job. So I quit right at the end of that calendar year and randomly applied for a case manager job that ended up being here. I really didn't know anything about the place, but I kind of cold sent my resume, and the rest is history. I came and applied and started here as a housing case manager. I had applied with Nancy Welker and Debbie Hennon and Lou Colero, who was also a director at that time, and interviewed for either a workforce or what used to be the employment and education case manager position or a housing case manager, and ended up in housing.
Nice. And you did say that you did have a background of higher education. So what exactly did you get your degree in that made this shift maybe a little bit easier for you?
My undergrad is in psychology. After I worked here for a few years, I had to think about it. I started actually September 10th, 2001, the day before 9/11. I started my graduate degree at Geneva. So I have a master's in organizational leadership as well.
Nice.
Wow.
So, Kathy, you're the director here at Lawrence County Community Action Partnership for our Community Supports Department. So can you tell me what the word support means to you?
In terms of our department, support takes the form of a lot of different services. So we cover a lot of ground in community supports. We do services for people who are homeless or facing eviction. We do services for people who are looking for assistance with food, such as our SNAP program. Kim, I think you're familiar with that. We oversee our intake for here at Grant Street for anyone coming in and applying for services. We do a lot of services around employment and education, and for at-risk youth. And I'm probably forgetting a lot of other things too, but we do a lot of different services, all meant to really support the community and their needs.
Since you have been here for the past 25 years and you've been in this role of community support, so how have you seen the needs of the community change throughout that time?
Well, I do think the needs have grown in our community. The community is always changing. So sometimes there's a big need for employment services. Sometimes there's a lot of needs for housing services. A lot of things factor into that, like what's going on in the economy or what's happening in the community, whether we're gaining jobs or losing jobs. Some of that, I think, is also our exposure or availability in the community. People know about us more, so more people use us, the more they know, which is a great thing. But it seems like no matter what we're doing, the needs continue to grow, and we just continue to be responsive to what we're seeing in the community and develop our programming to meet those needs.
Can you share with us a recent success story that makes you super proud of your team?
Sure. I would say this is not a specific success story, but it's our story in general. LCAP has a really unique ability to be successful in a lot of different sectors. We have really skilled, smart, passionate people who have the ability to look at the needs of the community, find funding sources that might meet those needs, develop programming, and then execute it and make a big difference. And it's amazing, really, what we accomplish every day. And to be good enough at it that we actually replicate that kind of service regionally as well. So not to just be able to impact Lawrence County, but in community supports, we have programming in 17 counties. So the things that we're doing, being able to either through a contractual relationship and helping support the vendor locally, or just training and technical assistance, we're able to impact even more people. And that just makes me really proud to see what we're able to do every day. Like we do things on a micro level for an individual, and there's gratification there. And then you see bigger impacts locally, like through the Lawrence County and then through the region. It's really amazing.
So, Kathy, you stated that, we do have so many different programs and services in our community supports department, and you are the director, and you are an amazing director too. So how do you stay focused to motivate, your team, everybody that you lead within all the different programs that we have under community supports?
Well, that's a tough question. I think, as cliche as it sounds, like together, like there are so few of us. There's about 25 of us in community supports, and we serve thousands of people every day, and it takes all of us working together. There's no such thing as it's not my job in our department. There's no such thing as, it's not my problem. Everybody really pitches in. Everybody is a jack of all trades, learning different things, being willing to jump in and support each other and support an individual that comes through the door. And for me, I try to just be what I wish people would be for me. So I like people to recognize what I do. I like people to be thankful for what I do. I like people to be appreciative of it. And I try to turn that back around and do the same thing to within our own department and foster that spirit of teamwork and appreciation for each other, because it's a hard job. There's hard days, and the only way we get through it is together.
Speaking of working together, I know LCAP works with a lot of other agencies around the community. What would you say would be the best collaboration experience that you've had with LCAP collaborating with an outside organization?
I think Missy Russell mentioned this in her podcast, but it would have been in around 2020. We undertook a huge project with USICH, which is the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness. So that brought together federal partners, statewide partners, local partners, all around the goal of effectively ending veteran homelessness in our continuum of care, which is a 20-county region in Western Pennsylvania. So it took years, literally years of us working every week together on calls, looking at data, conferencing around individual veterans, trying to brainstorm for how we would assist specific veterans, plugging holes in our system to make sure that if any veteran showed up anywhere in those 20 counties, that there would be a service provider that would show up and address that individual's needs. It's a very data-driven process. There was formulas and different data points we had to put in to prove that not that veteran homelessness would go away completely and never exist away again. Things happen, emergencies happen, someone could become homeless, but that when it did happen, that it would be rare, brief, and non-reoccurring. So once it was settled, that person would not cycle back into homelessness. And as I said, it took years. But in 2020, we were able to have the federal partners accept our proposal that we had done just that. And we had actually a big celebration and a big event at Ben Franklin where they came and presented us like a citation and noted, and we're listed on USICH's website as one of the few areas in the country that had that happen. So that was really, really cool and took tons of people, tons of hours to get that done.
Nice. And I often say, community support and our community workers are like the foundation of LCAP because you guys have your hands in so many buckets and so many different services offering to the community. So, I can imagine throughout the years, every day hasn't been the easiest, but what keeps you passionate about what you do for the community and keeps you coming to work every day?
My favorite part of coming to work are the people I work with, really. I think a lot of us get into this field because we want to make a difference. I think when you get in the field, you find out it's a little bit harder to make that difference than you ever expected it to be. And you have to kind of scoop up the small wins and keep them close and keep revisiting them because it's hard to not get discouraged some days. But I think our department, really our agency in general, we have a really good culture where even on the hard days, we lift each other up. We can laugh about things, we can support each other, and we just keep moving on. And not every day is going to be good. In life in general, it's not. But we stay focused on the positives and just keep plugging forward.
13th episode and another guest stating the same thing, that we are a family, that, that we are here for one another and we all are, here to help each other and help the community in which we serve. And speaking about community, what is something you wish, Kathy, more people understood about the community that we live in? Because sometimes people always say, oh, Lawrence County, there's nothing to do. It's not, anything great. What do you think? Because I always tell people it's so family oriented here. There's more services here than, people think of. And they're able to be in reach too. Bigger cities, bigger communities, I feel like people have a hard time getting the different things that they need. But here in Lawrence County, I always tell people that. And when people do move away, they end up coming back. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I've basically lived here my whole life, except for when I left for college and then came back. I do think we have a great community. Especially working in regional programs, you get to see inside. You get a little bird's eye view of what's going on in other communities, and great things are happening there as well. But we have a great service network. We have a lot of agencies that really work well together. You don't see a lot of the infighting or battling over funding or battling over people. You see collaboration and people passionately working together. So I agree. I think we have a great community.
I think so too. I really do. Lots of things to do, different activities for families, just a lot of engagement opportunities here in Lawrence County. So it's important to talk about all the great things that, we offer here to our community, to families, and just other agencies and partnerships in general.
So how do you measure the impact of the different programs in the community sports department?
Pretty much everything that we do is logged somehow. There's data on every program that we run that can show the number of people to be served and how many people achieved a certain goal that we wanted them to do. So, for instance, how many people came through our GED program and how many got their GED, or how many people that were homeless came in and actually got housing. That's all tracked, and that's fantastic. And if you're a data person, I am a data person. It's interesting, but it's more than that. I mean, I think not everyone is going to achieve some big, great goal. Sometimes it's just a small impact that you make, and those are just as important. We used to have my former director that was here would always say, we're just planting a seed, and so sometimes you have to plant that seed and water it and water it and water it, and then you start to see that change or the effect of that planting. So I don't know. I don't like to get too caught up in just the data of it because it doesn't represent the people. The people are sometimes an attitude change or hope that you see in someone can't be measured, but it's just as important.
Absolutely. And would you say that there's a program or a service that you feel like isn't showcased enough that you would like to explain or that you would like to promote to the community that you would like to see maybe people engage a little bit more in?
Well, that I could talk for several hours about. I think all of our programming is fantastic, and for different sectors or different needs, we're the place to go. If we can't solve the issue, we'll certainly connect you with who can. If I'm going to be really selfish, I'll say I think our homeless programs don't get enough limelight. I think growing up in this community, I never realized that there were a lot of people that were homeless. We don't have a lot of visual homeless. Like if you would go into downtown Pittsburgh, or if you go to Philadelphia, you see people sitting along the road, with their sign. And I think that's what a lot of people picture as homelessness. But in Lawrence County, we have homelessness. We just have a really good community, like we kind of just talked about, where a lot of people will let someone stay on their couch or they're hopping between houses. And it was really surprising to me when I joined the organization how many people we serve that are homeless or facing eviction. And for those that don't know, we're serving thousands of people every year that are in Lawrence County that have those needs. And we have great shelters that we partner with, but a lot of our homelessness is hidden, especially like our youth homelessness. They are hopping from place to place to place. So our case managers do excellent work. We can never solve every issue every time, but they will get right in the weeds with that individual and try to unpack what's going on and try to figure out the best plan for that individual. The other thing that's kind of newer is what's going on at Fruit Mill. And I know that you guys have kind of touched on that in a couple of the podcasts, but Kristen Green is doing a fantastic job out at our Exploration and Innovation Station, which is Building 7 out on Fruit Mill. There's so much opportunity. I can't wait to see the community embrace it even more than it already has. There's a whole list of activities she has coming up through the summer and lots of ideas for even the future. So I'm really excited as more people step in those doors to see the potential of what they can do and how they can connect, because it's not our traditional programming. It's a little bit of our traditional program, but it's also just for the community in general. And I think it's a nice way for everyone to connect with LCAP.
I always tell everybody, check out our website. Kristen Green's number is on our website, or they could call here at the main office and go out there, take a tour. She's there. She's willing to have everybody in. She's very accommodating. Take a tour of our Building 7. It's absolutely amazing. The kiddos love it. It's great for families. It's great for different events. So yes, check us out on the website, please, and call Kristen for more information about that.
So basically, now knowing what you know 25 years later, if you could give your younger self one word of advice, what would that have been?
One word?
Or maybe just any advice at all?
Be flexible and be willing to learn. Again, I know I've listened to all the podcasts. It's a theme that continues to keep coming up, but LCAP, the only thing that stays the same at LCAP is everything's changing. And you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to learn. And with that, the adventure will never get old then, because you're always learning something new. You're always doing something new. The community changes, the needs change, our programming changes. And if you're kind of wanting to learn one thing and stay right there, this is probably not going to be the place that you're going to last 25 years. It just doesn't work out that way. But being flexible is probably the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Yes, I agree. And open-minded. Yep, having an open mind. Is there, Kathy, a particular book, quote, or maybe a mentor that has influenced your leadership style that you have?
So now I'm going to draw a blank, but I would not a particular quote, but when I was in school, the one thing that I kind of feel like has to happen is a concept called situational leadership. So I feel like you cannot just lead in one way or expect the same results and handle every situation and every person the same way every time. You've got to build relationships with people. You've got to know them as well as you can and try to be what they need. And that's sometimes hard. It's been a challenge. I've only been in this role for about a little over a year and a half, and lots of new people, lots of new programs, and to try to get to know people and understand them and what makes them tick and why they're here. Kind of the questions you're asking me, like you kind of have to know about them or else you can't be effective as a leader. Otherwise, you're just kind of managing people and giving a list of orders, and it's not as effective.
All right. So since you are an active listener of our podcast, you know, the final question that I like to ask before we move into our quick fire round is, since one of the themes of our podcast is legacy, I like to ask everyone, once you are done with the company, what is the legacy that you're hoping to leave here?
And I have thought about this because I have heard you ask. But my simple answer is I really hope that I try to be a person that looks at my job as my job. Like what I do is very important. I care about it. I care about what we do as an organization, but my most important work is at home. So I feel like the legacy I'd like to leave is that people understand you can have both. Most of us are women that work here. I mean, sorry to some of the guys that do work here, but we are mostly a female workforce here, and it's hard to juggle it all. It's hard to be a wife, mom, sister, daughter, you name it, a worker, and not feel like you're letting someone down. So I feel like I try really hard to be good at both. You know, I think I've gotten better as I've gotten older of saying it's just my job. It's not my life. My real life is at home. And so I hope that I can show people behind me that you can, work really hard and you can move up in the company and you can be really effective in your work and be respected. And you can still not compartmentalize it, but you can kind of put that to the side and you can still go home and be the best you too. And it's okay to do that. And it's actually healthy to do that.
Absolutely. And I think that's great advice also for the younger generation, just knowing as they're getting into the workforce that it's okay to have a work life and an outside of life balance when it comes to things.
No, I agree. Yeah. That was really beautiful, Kathy.
Yes. All right. So we're done making you sweat, I promise. We're going to go ahead and move on to the quick fire round. And as you know, how that works is Kim and Amber are going to ask you a series of questions, and whatever comes to your mind first, you'll just go ahead and answer with that answer. So whoever wants to start it off can go ahead and start off this week.
Sure. I'll go first. So tell us a little bit, Kathy, about what you enjoy doing in your spare time.
Well, for the last 15-ish years, I've spent my spare time running as a sports mom. My youngest child is 17, is going to graduate in about a month. So that life is going to come to a screeching halt. But I've thoroughly enjoyed running to hockey games and football games and cheerleading and soccer and everything else. So I find myself with a lot more time and anticipating even more time coming this fall. So I have focused on trying to do some things for myself that I haven't been able to do for a while. So for instance, right now, you'll find me at Planet Fitness pretty much every night. In my pre-child days, I ran a lot, physically ran a lot. So I'm trying to get back into that. I have a long way to go, but I feel like I have a lot of time to do it. So that's kind of my personal goal, to get back. If I say it in the podcast, don't pull this back up in a year from now and show it to me. But yeah, I ran the Pittsburgh Half Marathon 5 times. And then my kids got real busy and I got lazy. So now that's on my list to next spring get back there. So that's my focus for the next year or so.
Nice. Well, we'll be cheering you on.
Yeah.
Yes, we sure will. And like
That's
you said,
awesome.
just planting that seed. So
Yeah.
this is your baby steps towards that.
So
Good for
remind me
you.
every couple months, like, aren't you supposed to still be in the gym?
Like, hey, are you still running?
Yes. I have no excuses now.
So, who has inspired you the most, either at work or just in your personal life?
I really don't know. I would say the people that motivate me the most are my kids. You know, you want to be better for them. You want to do the best for them. That you want to show them a good work ethic and, you know, how to achieve some of their goals.
So what do you and your family do for family nights? Anything fun? Any hobbies that you all do together?
Really, not really, you know, because my kids have been so busy in their own separate sports that we have found ourselves running in multiple different directions for years and years and years. And now my son will be 20 in June, and he's living his best college life and doing his own thing. So we're rarely, honestly, in the same place. I feel like we're all just running the 4 corners and staying connected over text.
So, if you could instantly have one skill, what would it be? Any skill?
To be in every place at every time that you can be for the kids. Hockey game and cheer at the same time.
I know. I'm not sure.
That's okay.
I don't really have an answer for that. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's okay. Where's your favorite place to eat at? We always talk about how Lawrence County has the best different foods. And where do you like to go?
And you've asked people this, so I thought about this because we really don't go out to eat a lot. But I will say that around LCCAP, we like to order lunch a lot. And the one place that tempts me every time they order is Hill House.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to Jeremy, who
Yes.
takes care of us here. When they order from Hill House, it is a barbecue chicken salad from Hill House for me.
Their chicken salads are great.
Well, he took care of us through COVID. So there was about 5 of us that really didn't work remote. We came into the office, and the office was kind enough to pay for our lunch every day, and it was Hill House.
Aww.
So I think it was Vicki Briner who told me about the barbecue chicken salad, but there was a handful of us that would eat lunch every day. We would sit 6 feet apart and eat our food because we weren't allowed. And we wouldn't see humans all day, and then we would just kind of sit together and eat.
Sit back and enjoy each other's
Yeah.
company, 6 feet apart.
Hill
Together
House.
but apart.
I feel like Hill House is a gem that people don't always know about in the community.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. I love Hill House too.
Mhm.
They're always so great here for our different caterings and our meetings and everything that we do. So yeah, shout out to Jeremy for sure.
So, Kathy, what's something that's still on your bucket list that you haven't got to do yet?
I would love to travel more.
Any place in particular?
Anywhere with the beach is fine by me. But really, I'd like to see everything. I just like to learn and experience different cultures and environments. I think it's interesting to see on in a book or on a magazine or in a website, but to just go and immerse yourself would be really cool.
Yeah, it would.
I was going to ask that too. So I think I'm going to ask. I had something on my mind we were talking about earlier. Gardening. Did you start your garden yet? Did you have any ideas what you want to plant?
I haven't yet. My garden is my happy place all spring and summer and fall.
Uh-huh.
The first place I go when I get out of work. Just drop my purse and walk
Uh-huh.
back there.
Get
But
your
I
watering
mostly,
can.
I usually have, I have a perennial garden. So most of my things are perennial. So they're starting to pop up. Just checked on them yesterday.
Well, my next question was going to be flowers. Do you prefer real or artificial? But
Oh, my
apparently,
goodness.
Yeah.
you prefer.
Yeah, the yearlies.
Yeah. I do. I used to do a lot of vegetables
I was going to ask, do you do any herbs and vegetables or just flowers?
I do, but I get lazy. So I like to watch them grow, and then I get tired of watering them. And the perennials are a lot lower maintenance and pretty. So yeah, you can enjoy them without doing a lot of work. So my garden is slowly swapping over to all wildflowers.
Oh. So do you have any vacations planned for this summer?
This summer, no. I have graduation parties to throw and attend, and my son is taking 2 classes this summer that I just paid the bill before I came downstairs. So nope, there's no room for
No room for
a vacation this summer. But I'm excited. I have a group of friends that we like do life together, and we have been on we go on vacation every other year together. We've been doing it since our kids were like 7 and 9. We all have kids 2 years apart. They're now mine are the youngest, so they're all mostly like 18 and 20. And we booked our vacation to Nags Head next year. So I'll look forward to that in the meantime.
Exciting.
Yes. Oh, good. Yeah, you have a lot of good things coming up. Graduations, next year's vacations, running, preparing for that. Yeah, it's going to be a good year.
And if you could describe your journey with LCAP in one word, what would it be?
I keep thinking challenge. Feel like that sounds negative, but I don't mean it in a negative way. I feel like every day is a challenge. We're presented with hard situations, and those are a challenge. We're dealing with individuals who are going through crises, and that's a challenge. Our programs are changing, and that's a challenge. And then I personally like a challenge. It's kind of like why I like to push myself to run. Like it's hard, but it's just seeing that incremental growth is rewarding for me. And I think the same with LCAP. Like every day is not easy. Every day there's something new, and there's a challenge, and you don't always see it in the moment, but then you look back and you're like, wow, we've come really far. So
Challenges help you grow.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
All right. And before we wrap up this episode, is there anything that you would like to say or touch on that we did not touch on just yet?
No, just thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. It was a lovely time.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure was.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming into the studio and sharing your journey with us. I know it could be a little intimidating coming in and seeing us sitting here, but we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do such.
We sure do.
Yeah, we do.
Yes. Thank you, Kathy.
All right. And that'll wrap up episode 13 of LCAP Legacy Decades of Dedication. And of course, we'll be back next week with another special guest. So please tune in.
See you later.
Have a wonderful week.